Well, I hope you realize that we here at CityView think that stories are important. We heard 3 great stories. Let's give another round of applause for all the people that came up here and shared. 3 great stories tonight, and I hope that you were as challenged. I hope that your mind was as expanded. I hope that you were as drawn to those stories as I was tonight. They had an effect on me, and that's what it's all about. I hope that you had a chance to grow because of those stories. And Jesus actually told stories as well. And I actually thought of this story as soon as we started talking about Wanderlust. I thought about this story that Jesus told one time. There was this guy, and he had 2 sons. And the younger son decided it was time for him to go out and wander. He decided that he didn't need to stay at home anymore. He needed to go out and do his own thing and go out and wander. And I have to wonder. I have to wonder if perhaps he wanted to go for some of the reasons that we have listed right here on this board. So we have, should I go? We have Texas, obviously, and actually that got an agreement for some reason. So we have a blank canvas, a girl, a change, to be free, for the dream job, opportunities, explore creation. Why not? Be adventurous. I wonder if the guy in this story that Jesus is telling had all of these same urges, because they're not millennial urges, they're human urges. They're somewhere buried inside each and every one of us. I wonder if he decided to wander for some of these very reasons. Jesus tells the story, and there's this other son. So the man had 2 sons. The second son, the older son, decided to stay. He watched his little brother setting up, taking all this money, getting ready, and then heading out, and decided to stay. And I wonder if perhaps he stayed for some of these reasons. He stayed maybe because it's a comfort bubble, because I have a great job, because he had comfort to save money, because he didn't know where to go next, because he has friends, family, and familiarity. Maybe he stayed because he had the fear of being alone or in the unknown. Maybe he stayed because he was disciplined disciplined to continue his studies. Maybe he was caring for sick or elderly parents. We don't really know. Jesus doesn't really say when he's telling this story. But I find it fascinating that even thousands of years ago, while he's telling these stories, we can imagine that people had these exact same urges to stay and to go. Well, the story continues, and the younger son goes off and wanders, and he's hanging out, he's having a pretty good time, and then all of a sudden the economy falls out, and he has to go back home and move in with mom and dad. I mean, how relative is that to us today, right? I mean, we are the generation defined by, getting a bad hand in the economy, and we're also this whole failure to launch idea. They have all these statistics about millennials moving back home with mom and dad. It's like a phenomenon that's happening right now that hasn't happened in quite a few generations. And so I think it's funny that that's exactly what happened to this guy that wandered. And once he got home, his dad was really happy to see him. He welcomed him with a big party. And the son that stayed home was not so happy about it. He got bitter. He was jealous. He didn't understand why this son had been so wasteful and that his father would just welcome him right back into his home, right back into his arms. I think it's funny that we can all probably empathize with one of these 2 stories, maybe even both to some degree. Maybe you're the guy that's wandered. Maybe being in New Orleans is evidence of your wandering. And you came down here looking for a job, looking for money, looking for adventure, looking for the big city, or maybe you were just looking to get away from something. Maybe you were trying to get away from your family. Maybe you were trying to get away from a bad situation. And maybe you came here seeking a brand new you, a new start, something fresh, something different. Maybe you're the guy that stayed. Maybe you stay here, maybe you just moved here, but you've decided to stay for a long time, and you're seeing all your friends post cool stuff on Instagram about all these exotic and outlandish things that they get to do, and you're thinking, man, I'm just kind of stuck, I'm just kind of here. I'm not doing anything really cool. Maybe even that comfort, that stability that you stayed here for, that you built a home here for, maybe that's not even so solid. Maybe that falls apart. And so I think that even though this story is thousands of years old, we can still wrap our minds around what these 2 sons must have been feeling. And the coolest thing about the story is that up until this point, it had been completely about the sons. We barely even get mention of the father. But the heart of the story, the actual main character of the story, I believe, is the father. Because by the end, both sons realize that it's not about where they're at that tells them who they are, but it's about their relationship with their father. Essentially, both sons went out and found out that who they are had to be defined in something more than a place. Who they are had to be defined by something more than a place, and it was defined by their father. What is it that defines who you are? What is it that defines who you are? Now, I can't tell you what to think or what to believe or what to feel, but I can tell you that for me, the only thing that's ever been a satisfying answer to that question is Jesus. Jesus defines who I am. And in fact, in the story, the Father is actually a metaphor for God, right? So in the story, Jesus is telling all of this to say, you can go out and you can wander, you can search the entire world and do that whole thing and still end up unsatisfied. Or you can stay home, feel content with your family, do the right thing, whatever that looks like to you, and you can still feel unsatisfied with the whole world. But recognizing that you have a Father that loves you, that's the only satisfying thing. That's the only way to find any type of identity. There's another character in the Bible. He actually wrote one of the books. He wrote a bunch of stories that Jesus told and did. It was the book of John. And what's really cool about it, he's one of my favorite characters because he writes about all these things that happen. He lists out all the other disciples' names, Matthew, Mark, those kind of people, right? And then when he gets to himself, he defines himself not as John, but as the disciple whom Jesus loved. His entire identity was wrapped up in this idea that Jesus loved him. And in the end, that was the only thing that satisfied him. Now, some of you guys may have come from different backgrounds. We've all come from different backgrounds. We all have unique stories. But I can say something very confidently right now that I believe. I believe that Jesus loves each and every person in this room right now. And furthermore, I believe that you have the opportunity to fundamentally change what your identity is founded in, and you can do that tonight. Because Jesus loves you so much, you have the opportunity to just accept that love and allow that to be your brand new identity. The rest of the world starts over tonight as you perceive it because your identity can be found in the love of Jesus. And at the end of the day, places are going to change, people are going to change, things are going to change, and nothing's going to last. But the love of Jesus is going to last in your life forever. And that a way that it can define you and change who you are is going to last forever. Now, if you're at all confused about that, if you have any questions about that, we would love to talk to you about it. I would love to talk to you about it. John would, Ross would, Sarah would, because that is the one thing that brings us all together that defines each and every one of us, and it is something that we are very passionate about. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to stay after. But my challenge to you is this. As you go out, even until the next City View, for the next month, I want you to ask yourself, what is it that defines me? What is it that defines me?